junior college All-Americans, myself in cross country, Jimmy in wrestling. I ran Division I at Monmouth University. And then, as I mentioned, we're both probably because of the wrestling, got into strength and conditioning. We're little guys. I was a 103 pounder. Jimmy was 112. And so strength and conditioning was a big thing, which led us both to CrossFit.
Nice.
And through doing that and then changing my training a little bit, I ran some pretty good marathons and got in touch with Brian McKenzie and got to work with him for
That's
about a
awesome.
year and a half with CrossFit Endurance. And that's what got me out to California. That being said, we just try to have cool conversations with cool people, coaches, athletes, people that are doing amazing things, growing the sport, building the community, and all those sorts of things. And like I mentioned, Kaylee had introduced us, put your name out there, and so here we are.
Cool. Awesome.
Right on.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's another episode of Airey Bros Radio Live, and we are excited to chat with our guest tonight. Todd Pollock is joining us, but you know the drill. Before we get into it, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Drop us a comment, leave us your feedback. Every share helps us grow and help give back to the sports we love. Make sure you're following on Instagram. Subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms, be it Spotify or Apple. And as always, this episode is fueled by CS Instant Coffee and Black Sheep Endurance Coaching. And let's not forget, we're doing a grassroots movement over here. We're trying to shine a light on athletes, coaches, and mentors we wish we had access to growing up. If you're a student of the sport, this one's for you. As I mentioned, Todd Pollock is joining us this evening. He is the founder of Greater Than Endurance. He's an ultra runner. He's a CrossFit endurance coach. He works with aerobic capacity and he is a mental toughness machine. He's a 100-mile finisher. You all know that 4x4 by 48. He's done that a few times. He's run the Boston Marathon. He's done the rim to rim to rim. He's also done the Spartan Ultra Beast Race, and he's about to take on his longest race to date, the Sedona Canyons 125 miler. He's a level 1 CrossFit instructor, certified CrossFit endurance coach. As I mentioned, he's a CrossFit aerobic capacity ambassador and an in-health coach. He's coached high school athletes, elite Spartan racers, and trail runners towards their own endurance goals and breakthroughs. He integrates strength, nutrition, and mindset into every plan. This dude trains the whole athlete. Let's go deep on grit recovery, race strategy, and how to embrace the suck. Todd, it is an honor and a pleasure to have you with us this evening. We do greatly appreciate your time. Welcome to the show.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate your time. This is awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we are excited. And one of the things we like to do over here is we make the world smaller each time we do this, both with our guests, but then also for our fans. And as I was mentioning, maybe before we logged on, we had Ben Clymer on last week, and he is
Yep.
the coach of Faith Christian Academy, the #1 wrestling team in the nation.
Yep.
And his wife was so gracious to connect us. She reached out to us and said, "Hey, I think you might want to chat to this guy. He's doing some pretty great things." So we had him on. We had a great conversation. And then she got back to us and said, "Hey, I got some other people that might be up your alley and people you might hit it off with." And so she put you at the top of the list, and here we are. So we got to give a shout out to Kaylee and putting us in touch. And we are excited to get into a conversation with you because we do have a lot of things in common.
Yep. Love Kaylee. Love Ben, and appreciate Kaylee putting me at the top of the list.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get too far into it, if you have anything you would like to plug or promote, any of your coaching information, anything you got going on, anywhere you want the fans of the
Yep.
Airey Bros to find you, the floor is yours.
Sure. Mostly Instagram at greater underscore than underscore endurance. The only thing, honestly, I want to promote is, like you said, and we'll probably get into it later, in 14 days, 2 weeks from today, I'll be heading out in the biggest race I've ever done, 125 miles across Sedona in the desert. And I'm using that to raise money for Bigger Than the Trails. It's a mental health organization. So what I've been posting is just looking for if somebody can donate $5 to them, that's great. It's just I'm using that as my platform, my race, putting a purpose to it. I would appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll put that stuff in the show notes for you, and we'll get that taken care of. We'll
Cool.
get you some donations. And
Awesome.
14 days out, you're in taper mode now, huh?
I mean, taper move. Let the taper madness start. Yes.
The hay is in the barn, as we like to say over
Yes.
here at Airey
Yeah.
Bros.
Yeah. I just got back from I won't say easy, but just a 4 mile, and like it's the shortest I've done in a long time. And I'm like, oh, look at that. I'm done in 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's nice
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm assuming because you know Ben and Kaylee, are you a PA guy?
Yes, I am a PA guy. Yep. They're
All right.
about 20 minutes away from me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll get into how you guys know each other, but
Yeah.
we find more and more as we do this podcast with our people that live close to New Jersey, they can weigh in on the debate. So we're just curious, do you have a weigh in on the topic of pork roll versus Taylor ham?
Oh, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
I thought you were going to go to the water.
Oh, that's a big one between Jimmy and I. So we
Is
can,
it really?
I
yeah,
put
well,
it I put an R in everything. Water, Washington.
Washington.
My coffee's hard R.
yeah, I coached high school track and field for a very long time in cross country, and one of my early years in doing that, I had a couple kids that got on to me how I said Washington, and so I
Washington.
quickly corrected that, and Jimmy has not corrected that. So every time that I correct him, he has some choice words for me about why I decided to change my speech.
Yeah, when I do like races out west, they, say water, and they're like, "Where are you from? Philly?" I'm like, "Close enough." Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. It's funny how it's kind of known.
yeah. I was in a distillery in Leadville the first year that I ran the Leadville 100, and they had a beverage. It was called Cowboy Coffee, and I was bringing a bottle home for my friend because he collects all kinds of stuff like that. Anyway, the gentleman behind me, he heard me say it. He goes, "Where in New Jersey are you from?" And I was like, "What?"
What?
He's like, "Yeah, my dad's from New Jersey. That's how he says coffee." He's like, "You got to be from
Yeah.
New Jersey." And so we had this conversation, but it's just kind of funny how, depending on where you live, is how you pronounce things. And, you don't realize it when you're in that area, but when you go away
Yeah.
from it, people
Yeah.
pick up on it. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's your tell. People know where you're from.
Yeah. 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 When I go out west, it's I seem to stick out, I guess. And I don't think I do here.
Well, you got the beard, so you kind of blend in. You got the
Yeah.
trail etiquette and
Yep.
all that stuff
Yeah.
going for you. So how do you know Ben and Kaylee?
CrossFit.
Okay.
So is CrossFit gym. Met Kelly there, and early on, when we met, we were forming a team. We needed 6 people, and she was one of them. We invited to be on our team. Hustle and Muscle was the name of our team, and really got to know her. Again, I was a coach there, so I had a little bit of leeway, and we used to work out together every single morning at I think 5 or even 4:30. We got there early, and basically before the classes. And so every single day worked out, competed with her for a couple years, um, and just yeah, really got to know her. Really got to know Ben, over the years. Um, yeah, that's how I got to know him. And Ben, he once had me come to his workout with his kids, with his coach, and allowed me to put him through, a workout too. And that I just had an absolute blast. That was a great time doing that too. But yeah, Kelly and I, even though we don't go to the same gym anymore, we keep in contact. Yeah, she's great. She's awesome.
Okay. Is Kaylee as much of a beast as Ben is?
She, what's the right answer to say? She, she is. She
Is she a
has
fire breather? I should say that maybe that.
there's people in life that I call them quiet inspiration. Like they have big engines and big hearts, but you look at them and you don't think they do, but she does. She just great conversation. It's so inspirational, so funny. She's one of the funniest people I know, like the driest sense of humor. I wouldn't say fire breather, but yeah, she's awesome. Her and Ben are a great pair.
Awesome, awesome. So I guess we're getting a little bit into it, but one of the ways we like to start off here is with an origin story. We all have our origin stories, how we got into athletics, how we got into CrossFit, how we got into ultra marathons.
Yep.
So tell us yours, Todd.
My origin, it picks up. I'm gonna go back a little bit. Like high school, I did sports. I did cross country in high school. I did pole vault. I did track, pole vault and track. But I'm gonna fast forward. Got married in my young 30s. Had our first child. And just the dad things. And I kind of put my physical and stuff like on that, just kind of on the side. And long story short, just kind of kept gaining weight, gaining weight, gaining weight. And I remember the day. I had to buy a pair of 36 pants and I was not happy with myself. I was like, oof, this is not me. It just didn't feel, I literally physically didn't feel right and whatnot. So I'm like, all right, let's just maybe try running again. And that's literally what propelled it. And it was just, there was a local 5K and that was my goal. Just run it, run the 5K. And I did, and it just really kept me moving. I remember finishing that 5K, just the endorphins. I'm like, yep, this is it. And then I won't say as you know, but you do know. It's like, oh, I can do a 5K. Can I do a 10K? Then the 10K comes back. And it just kind of kept going. This is all road. And then I was obsessed with Boston Marathon. Just wanted to qualify for Boston. And that's little story in of itself if you want to get into that. And then ran Boston, and obviously, which is just this week, which I love watching. Then spiraled into, hey, look, local 50K trail race, and loved every aspect of it. But the thing I loved the most about it, I remember waking up the next day, getting out of bed, going, huh, I'm not sore. Why am I not sore? Because usually marathons, you're sore because you're hitting the pavement,
Yeah.
the deal. And I'm like, I think I like this trail stuff. Wake up as sore because it's, different motion. Yeah, and I kept meeting people that, inspired me, the Rim to Rim to Rim gang, and it just kind of kept going and still going.
Yeah. I always tell people when they ask about running ultras or 100-mile races, I said, I recover faster from 100-mile races in the mountains than I do from running a road marathon. I've said I
Yeah,
felt way better the day after a 100
yeah,
mile race in Leadville than I did after a road marathon where I
yeah.
ran my PR.
I not too long ago, a buddy of mine was training for Boston and asked me to go on a long road run with them. And I'm like, yeah, what's the big deal? Did 18 miles. Oh my God. I was like, no, no, never again. I'm not doing this. Yeah, it's amazing. It's completely different.
Todd, I'm curious because Rich and I's first CrossFit workout was at our level one when we did Fran. We were doing a bunch of stuff and yeah, yeah, that's kind of how it was after
That's how we do
we
it over
did
here at Airey Bros.
it. Yeah.
Holy
Jump into the
cow.
deep end, both feet first.
Yeah, we found out real quick we didn't know how to kip. And we were doing jumping pull-ups and we were just 7 minutes, 8 minutes, we were
Yep,
just completely shot. We
yep.
thought we were doing CrossFit, and then Fran kind of kicked us in, and then you know, Rich went to California. I was coaching at CrossFit Morristown, and we couldn't get enough CrossFit. What was your origin story with CrossFit? And
Well, go ahead. I want to finish it.
I'm asking too
Yeah.
many questions.
Yeah, no, no, no. Yeah, we can go on it.
Yeah.
So I realized when me and my friends decided to do the rim to rim to rim, something in myself, I really wasn't doing I wasn't doing any strength training. I'm like, I think I need to do strength training. I think I need to do strength training to complete rim to rim to rim. So I'm like, all right, check out this CrossFit. And we can circle back. This is an interesting story. There was a sign by my house for where I end up coaching. But I never went there. I don't know why. I kept seeing the sign to check it out, but I never went there. I went someplace a little bit closer to my work at the time. So yeah, went to that CrossFit gym, and I see, yeah, my first class walking and going, I'm an endurance athlete. Yes, I can, do anything. And I remember the first workout had pull-ups in it. And then I got humbled, the biggest piece of humble pie you ever seen. As you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, how can that 60-year-old guy over there pump out 20 pull-ups and I can't even do five. Like, and it was humbling, but it was like, yep, I need this. I need this in the worst way. And my coach, Beth, at that time, I, coaches are so important, and she was I so much gratitude for her. She knew I was there, and she kept saying to me, "You need to run less, and you need to balance this a little bit more. You need to do more strength." And because I was really burning candles at both ends. I was still trying to run tons of miles. I was still trying, do the CrossFit. And I eventually did listen to her and shift a little bit away from running, a little bit more to strength training and CrossFit. And she was right. I mean, yeah, she was right. I felt better. I felt strong. I finished rim to rim absolutely strong. So yeah, that's how it got me in. I wanted to be a stronger runner, you know.
And mentioning kind of finding that middle ground of not running so much and then doing more of the CrossFit stuff. What's that look like today?
Good question. It looks like, and even how I kind of coach people too within the training period, whatever it might be for this, I officially started this training, January 1st. So at the beginning, I want to say it's like 50-50 mix of strength and running, to be honest. It's pretty much split down the middle. And then as the weeks go on, the strength, the CrossFit workouts become less. And I just need to focus more on running. And that works for me. That's kind of my balance. Yeah, it just that's what works for me.
Has your mileage kind of, because I know with CrossFit Endurance, they want you to
Mhm.
do more speed work,
Yeah,
more interval training. Rich and I found out the hard way that, hey, if you're gonna run long distance, you need to run. Like,
yep,
yes, you want to be strong, but if you're
yep,
doing 800s, might not work for the 2024 if that's all you're doing. What's
yep.
that look like for you?
Yeah, same way. Throughout the course of my running, there was definitely a period I was running too much. I was obsessed with, miles, 50, 60, 80, miles a week. I thought I had to do that, and I was burning out. I learned again, it's the type of running. And I definitely pulled back on the miles and the volume, focused more on time on feet and what I was doing with that time on feet. So um, what I mean by that, like I actually hired a coach for this time around. So in the middle of the week on Wednesdays, we just basically do fartleks or striders kind of midweek. So though I wasn't running long, I was picking up the pace a little bit. Elevation for what I was doing now, again, very custom. It's gonna be a lot of elevation. So though I wasn't doing, well, at some points I was doing a lot of miles on the weekend, but I focus a lot around elevation, again, strength, climbing, mountains for that respect. So I finally understood it just wasn't about miles. And I know I didn't coin this, and even when I coach, I call it the TOF, time on feet. I work with people, we try to figure out the goal and just get them to a certain point of how much time when you're spending time on your feet. And it's tough for a lot of the people I coach. They're like, but you don't have miles in here. You have me running for 2 hours this week. And I'm like, yeah, run for 2 hours. Then next week it might be 2.5 hours or something like that. So same thing for me.
Yeah, I find that interesting. I think it's something that goes back and forth depending on the person's. Jimmy and I always talk about with people about your actual age versus your training age.
Yeah,
And I think the more training age that that person has, the more they can kind of wrap their head around time on their feet. I think
yeah,
it's the new people
yeah,
that kind of struggle with that sometimes, and they need that mileage. Because I know I've gone back and forth at different points, but now I'm 49 now, and now it's more about time on your feet than it
yeah,
is about mileage. And I still have road friends like you do.
yeah,
And you go out and I'm sure you maybe experienced too, you go out for a run
yeah,
and you get back to the car and whatever your watch or whatever your Strava says, you just stop. Whereas
yeah.
the road runners, it
Yeah,
says,
yeah,
12.89,
yeah,
they'll run around in circles
yeah.
until it says 13
Yeah.
miles.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. But you made me think of something a couple of weeks ago, and something I did different this training regimen. There's a local new event called Ultra Trek. I'm not sure if you heard about it. It's basically hiking and rucking. So Bear Creek Mountain around here, again, about 3 weekends ago, I'm losing track of it. I signed up for 4 loops. Each loop was 7 miles with 35 pounds on the back.
Mhm.
So yeah, exactly. So my coach and I've been training. My Sundays were usually long rucks again to kind of. Obviously, my pack's not going to be 35 pounds coming up in 2 weeks, but it's going to be heavy. So my point of this whole story was I did Ultra Trek, signed up for 4 loops. Um, it rained, the course got beyond muddy and it was super technical, typical East Coast rocks, roots, everything else. I knew I couldn't finish the 4 laps in the time they gave, 10 hours, and I was beating myself up. I wanted to get 28 miles, wanted to get 28 miles, but I end up meeting my coach wanted me on my feet between like 8 and 10 hours. I did 8 hours, 40 minutes. So she's like, what are you complaining about? You were on your feet with 35 pounds on your back. And I wasn't complaining, but it just, again, it still was that, that goal, but I achieved the goal of being on my feet. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, I guess since we're talking about an East Coast ruck and you got a race coming out west, one of the questions we also like to ask people, and we got Carl Meltzer to weigh on this when we had him on, but what is your take on the gnarliest, burliest trails? Is it East Coast or West Coast?
I think East Coast. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Definitely East Coast. When I go out west, I'm just like, wee, this is fun. Yeah, it's East Coast. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. They don't they never heard of switchbacks on the East Coast.
No, no, exactly.
You're
No.
just going straight up the gut.
Yeah, exactly.
How
Because
how's the altitude treat you when you go out west?
knock on wood, this is not what jinx me. It's fine. Like yeah, I know. I get worried, and usually once a year I go out for some West Coast, elevation, and I'm fine. And I know at least what I've learned is there's kind of two theories: go out right before and just do it, or you got to go out 2 weeks before and come acclimated to it. So I literally go right out before, and I've been fine. But I will tell you, made me think of a story combining CrossFit and altitude. Chris Spieler, you guys
Hmm.
know. I went out and took one of his camps in Utah at his gym, and altitude got me. Like I just could not breathe. I'm there on the bike, and it was just like I'm in front of Chris Spieler, and I'm dying. Like, but yeah, that affected me that time bad.
Yeah, the anaerobic versus the aerobic effect at altitude it's a
Yeah.
whole nother beast.
Yes.
I've done a couple of the Jim Jones triathlons. I've done a couple
Nice.
of those at like 7,500 feet, and it's like
Yeah.
often for the rest of
Yeah.
the day. It's
Yeah.
just
But then again, it could be a placebo effect. I remember when I came back here to do CrossFit, I felt like Superman for at least a day.
oh yeah, absolutely. What what was it about the Sedona race that piqued your interest and made you want to sign up for that one?
Sedona?
So
What's
yeah,
that?
yeah, Sedona.
Sedona?
Is
He's
that
like Sedona.
oh Sedona?
Yeah,
Yeah, good
yeah.
one.
Um, so
True.
last year, so this race is part of Cocodona 250. It's Cocodona 250, 250-mile race, Sedona 125. And then there's two other races. So last year, my friend, she was doing the 250, and I've crewed a 200 for her before out there. She asked me to come out and group me with a couple of her friends. I end up tearing my meniscus. I still went, though I couldn't run. I was just going to be her crew chief. So I went out for it and crewed it the entire week and absolutely fell in love. It was the most amazing week, even though I couldn't run, just helping the pacers going from station to station throughout the week and being at the finish line. Then the group of people I was with, the pacers I was helping and stuff, being at the finish line, watching them come across all shapes, sizes, and seeing them accomplish that distance, I'm like, I can do that. Even though I swore off, and it's kind of a running joke with myself. I'm like, I don't need to do 100 again. Well, I'm not doing 100. I'm doing 125 now. That's my running joke with myself. But being at that finish line, I just, it was such an impression on me. And the people I was with, they saw me, like they just saw me looking, and they looked at me like, "You're gonna do this next year, aren't you?" And I teared up. I'm like, "Yep, I've got to do this now." So that's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a Aravaipa race?
Aravaipa. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I
I've
did.
done. Have you done there some other races?
I've been out to I've crewed and paced at Javelina,
Oh,
and then
nice.
I did the McDowell Mountain race once.
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
So it's
Javelina. I have a friend doing Javelina this year. I might pace her out there. I've done the Black Canyon, the 60 and 100K of their
okay.
races out there too, which I love. So.
Do you have a favorite distance?
Yeah, I do. I kind of like the 50, the 50K it's a nice distance. I did recently did 100K and I gotta admit, even though that was pretty damn tough, I was like, yeah, I think I would do that again actually too, but 50K it's the nice one. So
Yeah. You can you don't have to get
yeah,
up super early and you can
yeah,
finish and then
yeah,
enjoy the rest of your
yeah.
day.
Well, I was just gonna say that exactly. That's why you're not out there for days.
Yeah. Does the 250 intrigue you? Sorry, Jim. Is that something that we might see each other at Cocodona
It
starting line one of these days?
It it's a possibility. I have people asking me that, friends and stuff, and I said, let me see how I do with this. But yeah, it's definitely out there. That experience last year just opened up my wanting to push my limits. I preach it and I'm like, all right, better start practicing it again. So yeah, 250 maybe.
Todd, you mentioned bringing a coach on, that it was time to have a coach of your
Yep.
own. Was that
Yep.
hard for you being a coach, asking someone else to coach you, or did you just feel that was the next
No.
evolution of your game?
No, it just I never did it before. It was honestly it was a no-brainer for me. I wanted the pressure. I knew training for something like this in itself was going to be tough, and I wanted to take something off me. Just like CrossFit, people walk into a gym, want to be told what to do. I just wanted to be told what to do. Um, I knew I wanted somebody that has done the race, somebody that lives in Arizona, and I was lucky enough to find somebody that checked all the boxes. Interviewed her, she interviewed me, and it was a perfect fit. So yeah, it was probably one of the best decisions I made. Yeah.
Speaking of being one of the best decisions you made, would you have any advice for other coaches that might be listening to this podcast that don't have a coach, why they should get a coach?
You you learn a lot. If you just I don't have an ego with coaching and I always feel I'm learning and getting you being coached by someone else, I'm learning a lot too. I think that's number one. And then I think it helps you coach and helps you become a better athlete. How do you interact, yeah, with the coach and whatnot. And I was proud of myself. I was so worried, I'll be honest. I was so worried as she was coaching me, I may be like, hey, on that Wednesday, can I didn't do any, like, I didn't find the itch to do that. I was worried I was going to do that. I just, gave her feedback and we talked, but I never wanted to influence, especially with the rucking. Like I even said to her, I said, look, this is my idea. I want to explain why. And I said, if you don't want me doing it, I'm not going to do it. And she's like, no, let's do it. She goes, I think it's a great idea. So
Have you done the rucking before for your training?
no, for training, never. I've rucked here and there. I enjoyed it, whether it be part of, CrossFit workout or just me liking to throw something on, do something different. But I've never been that consistent. Every Sunday was a long ruck, for about 10 weeks. Um, that that was mentally challenging, being a runner, moving a little bit faster, not having that weight to just walking for hours on end with heavy weight on your shoulder. That was tough. It was way tougher than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I've we had Jimmy Letchford on last year and he hooked me to, once I saw the Black Friday sale come through, I go, I'm pulling the trigger, and I got it. And I'm down here in Florida, so it's flat and it's concrete jungle.
Yeah.
So I get hurt a lot. I got bowed legs, so if I run on the road, I'm gonna get
Oh,
hurt. So I've been rucking and I love
nice.
it. I really like it, and I could see how that could help you get ready for an ultra. One thing you mentioned you didn't know if you were going to be one of those clients that was going to say, "Hey, can I do this? Hey, I don't want to do this." Do you have any suggestions for clients that are listening to this podcast or potential clients of how to be a good client?
Good client. Let your coach, and like I say with all my people, I need feedback. I question them everything, how do you feel, all that. And I'll change it more for their lifestyle, not because of something they want to do or they don't want to do. And if they do something like that, I'm like, okay, so why don't you want to do intervals? You know what I mean? Like just ask them. And if it's a legit reason, we'll go with it. But I think if you're paying someone, you have a conversation with them. I'm not saying you must do what they do, but you're hiring them for their expertise. You have to trust them. And that's what I did. I trusted my coach.
Have you had any takeaways in terms of working with a coach that you've maybe had some light bulb moments or thought,
Mhm.
maybe these are some things I might start working into my own practice?
Yeah. I think sometimes, and I kind of knew this about myself, is I sometimes get too complicated. Just keep it simple. It doesn't have to be fancy, complicated, overextending. Just if you just keep it simple and consistent, that is a key. I think sometimes I know when I'm writing stuff up, I overthink stuff. I think sometimes way too much. Especially when I used to write CrossFit workouts. Sometimes simpler is better.
Yeah, less is more.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, David Rudisha's coach. I don't know if he's still the 800-meter world record. He's a previous gold medalist. Brother Com O'Connell is an Irish brother and coach at this school in Kenya, and he always said it's about doing the simple things well.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, there's going to be some repetition here, but like
Yeah.
the best are doing the simple things really, really, really well.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. It's really not that complicated sometimes.
Yeah. Stop looking at Instagram and
Yeah.
people balancing on Bosu balls doing
Yeah.
overhead squats and think that
Yeah.
that's going to be the key to your ultra marathon success.
Right. Exactly.
You mentioned having an awesome experience at Cocodona, and that kind of got your eye on this race. And one thing, as older men, when we talk to coaches or we talk to athletes, we like to ask them lessons that they've learned from their sport. Have
Mhm.
you had a moment in an ultra or an ultra that you took away with you and you use those lessons in your daily life, or just getting ready for ultras in general?
Yeah. Yeah, one, and this is, I don't want to say it's pretty common. I just remember my first ultra running coach when I started doing the 20 and 24. She just used to stay the mile you're in. Just stay the mile you're in, i.e., don't get ahead of yourself. And I remembered that. I used that for rim to rim to rim. I added a little twist on it. Though I went with friends at one point, I was by myself for a prolonged period of time. What I would do would pick somebody in my life, whether live, past, family, friend, and for that mile, I would think about them or be grateful, think of memories. And then for every mile, I would pick someone, especially when you're doing ultras, just to kind of keep my mind off, whether it be pain or whatever it might be. So that's it. It's just, yeah, about staying within the mile you're in, especially with something like this, the 125 miles, I don't want to have to think that I won't be finishing for another 2.5 days. That's not going to help me.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jim.
I could use that with life. I have a hard time staying within the minute that I'm in. So,
Todd, you mentioned 20 and 24. I'm curious, what years did you do that?
I I got to bring up my sign up. It was the like I want to say like 2010, 9, 8, 11, like somewhere around there. I did it 4 years. They canceled one of the years because of heat.
Yeah, we were there.
Um, were you there the year they canceled it?
Yep.
yeah.
I remember I was doing packet pickup on a Friday. I brought my son.
Yep.
And I'm like, what are they doing? What are they going around there? And I walked up there, they're canceling. I'm like, what are you talking about? It was hotter last year. They can't he no, it was hotter last year. I got lucky. I had a friend then. I must have posted I was upset or something, and someone had a bib for a race in Jersey. I think Running with the Devil was like up and down a mountain for 12 hours. I don't know if you ever heard of it. I don't know if it's even still around. So I ended up doing that. But yeah, 2024. That was yeah around the time period I did it. That was a great tool for me to get in endurance, like a loop. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. That was my first, well, so I did it 2012 was the year that they canceled it.
Okay.
And then 2011 was the first year I did it as an individual. That was when I was living in California. That was when I was like peak CrossFit endurance and doing full on CrossFit and low, 3 and 3.
Yeah.
And probably after the second loop, I was like, oh, I'm not, my feet hurt already. Like
Bro, after the first loop,
Yeah.
how you
I
doing,
was
Rich?
like,
Not good.
Are you
not
serious?
good.
No
Yeah, it
way.
was, and so that was like that was kind of my light bulb moment
Yeah.
where, okay, I know the benefits of strength training and even metabolic conditioning, but
Yeah.
being a collegiate athlete and running Division I cross country and track and field, I need to do volume.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't necessarily need to mean I need to be doing 100 miles a week,
Yep.
but there's certain specificities to running ultra marathons that you need to do, whether it's time on your feet or mileage or
Yeah.
even, road ultras versus trail ultras
Yep.
that you need to do those things. And so I did that in the summer, and then I went and did the quad dipsy in November, and I was still doing CrossFit really hard. And
Nice.
um, I think I was 19th at the first year I did the dipsy, and that was when I was like, I think a guy passed me like going down the last set of steps, and he was in like Umbro soccer shorts, and he had like high socks on, and I fell because it was wet. I fell and I dropped my handheld and I threw my handheld down the steps and I was like cursing. So yeah, that was really when I shifted gears from there and then changed changed what I was doing in terms of volume. And
Yeah.
I went back the next year and I finished third.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. But
So that
that's awesome. You were that intuitive. You knew what you had to do and you did it. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's, we always talk about being an experimental one.
Yeah.
And, what works for me might not work for other people might have success with that CrossFit endurance model. And I did when I ran my marathon PR. I was doing that, but I think it's like anything. You get a new stimulus, you're going to see some results
Oh
from
yeah.
it, but then
Yep.
um, you're going to have to modify and adjust to what you need for
Yeah.
each race. And that's what I love about ultras too, is that each course brings its own set of challenges and training modalities and things you need to do.
Yeah. It does. And I think that's what I love about it. It's just it's not the same. You can't compare a 50K here to a 50K there. They're not the same trail, at least.
Yeah.
Todd, I'm curious, is coaching your full-time occupation?
Yeah. That side gig, side hustle.
So how do you manage having a full-time job, coaching and training?
Very carefully. Um, so the one thing it's just say funny. Kaylee, kind of tying it back to that group of friends, that core group of CrossFit friends, they encouraged me. They're like, you should really be a coach. You really should be a coach. And they came up with the name. My one friend came up with the symbol, which he just wrote on napkin, and I loved it. And I remember that day I did the LLC, did all that stuff. And I remember buying the website. I never launched the website. And the reason I'm getting to that is once I made that decision to be a coach, people just came to me, like word got out. People just came to me, and I always had, and I set a limit for myself. Five, I just do 5 people because of having a full-time job, because of everything else. Five was who I can do. And I've never launched the site. It's just people came to me like through word of mouth, whatever. It's been wild. Like someone would drop, and a week later, I would get a text saying, "Hey, I heard, can you coach me?" And I'm like, that was it. So it's the self-imposed limit of just doing that. Times I've definitely thought I would love to do it bigger, meaning taking on more clients, really get into it. But that hasn't happened yet.
And with your clients, is that bending client to client, what you do in terms of, is it just run training or is it
No,
CrossFit or strength
it
training or?
Yeah, it's a mix of everything. Like I've had actually the doctor that did my, my knee surgery, he hired me for his 2 kids that were in middle school just for track, for running. So that was strictly track. That was an awesome experience. They were great kids, but training middle school kids, you being a coach, is completely different than obviously training adult. But I had fun with it.
Mhm.
It taught me other stuff about that. Yeah, people come for me for kind of Spartan training, so obviously a little bit more strength training. Had someone come to me, they just wanted to run a mile nonstop, never run a mile nonstop. And that was fun in and of itself. And when they did, the joy it brought them was the same joy the person I trained for a 100 miler for, which was, obviously different. Yeah, all modalities. I have had a client for 3 years. She wanted to get into a D1 as a lacrosse player, and her parents again knew she needed help with strength. So that was specifically strength, but focused it on lacrosse. Yeah, I've been open to almost anything, and I've enjoyed those challenges of just not doing be running.
Yeah, it's fun to mix it up with some people. Some people, and again, as you mentioned, like when you got into CrossFit, you were probably not doing any strength training and needed to.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's bridging that gap with people that are
Yep.
traditional runners, and you're seeing
Yeah.
more and more, strength training for distance runners is becoming mainstream, even in the ultra
Yeah.
world. So it's fun to kind of tap into those new
Yeah.
bodies and see the results from just even maybe
Yeah.
doing like calisthenic type stuff and
Yeah.
physio type stuff for
Yeah.
the benefits of it.
Yeah. You're Brian McKenzie. That inspired me. The gym I was at, I ended up creating what was called, and again, Kelly came to many of them. It was Friday night lungs. So every Friday night, I programmed an endurance type workout that was longer, not always running, but it was about endurance. It was uh, not your typical CrossFit, a little bit short timed. I mean, it was long, like, 45 minutes up to an hour. And people loved it. People loved it. They didn't think the class was going to take off, but people loved that. I'm like, you're endurance athletes. You're doing, you're doing something for a prolonged period of time. Yeah, I love that. That was fun.
Has has the high rocks piqued your interest at all?
I know with that. I've been seeing the flow that it's peaked it. Like I'm definitely looking at it more. Seeing, Tia is definitely over there
Hmm.
now. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of peaked it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, definitely. And definitely more endurancey than anything else.
Yeah. And it's funny, we had Lauren Weeks on. She's a multiple time High Rocks world champion, and now she's been getting the itch to do ultras. I think she signed up for Black Canyon.
Oh, get out. That's awesome.
She's got something coming up, but when we had her on, because I heard her on a podcast, and she's like, I just really like to go run in the mountains. And then we had her on. I'm like, so when's the first ultra gonna be? And they started
Yeah,
laughing like it's
I
coming.
I love that. I loved was it Boston Marathon Desi. She's talking
Mhm.
about ultra marathon or trail runs now. And yeah, I get chills thinking about I love when people do that.
Yeah, I we had a NCAA athlete Dylan Schubert on. He was third at the NCAA cross country championships, and then he ran 13, 17 for 5K indoors, and then just recently he ran like 27 in change for 10K. And he's from Colorado. He's
Awesome.
down here at Furman University in South Carolina. It was like, so Dylan, here's my pitch. How do we get you to go? Just leave the roads, leave the track, and let's go
Yeah.
right to the trails. I think there's some money in it for you if we
Yeah.
can get you on that Jim Walmsley track and you start kicking some butt on the trails.
That's awesome.
Todd, I'm curious. I know going into an ultra, it's like that Mike Tyson quote, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Is it just 1 mile at a time? Any goals, anything like that?
Um, yeah, good question. It, I'm having this fight with myself now. How detailed of a plan do I get to do? I have the spreadsheet going with the estimates of time, where I'm going to be, where I'm going to need the warmer clothes, where I'm going to be at night. And that's fine, but I get nervous because like you said, you can get punched and all that spreadsheet goes out the window. So now everything you planned that those clothes might not be at that aid station and stuff. So I'm trying to figure out the balance of not driving myself crazy, but plan enough. And at the same time, to answer your question, I had a lot of people asking me, what do you think your time is? What are you going to do? And one of the things I do with a lot of races, just so I understand, but this is completely different. I always would look at my age category, basically look at the average finish time and add a little bit, like, because that's where I always finish. I know where I always finish in the pack to give me an idea. And I did that for this race too. But this is different in that I don't know if I want to be by myself much. Like right now, I have no pacers. I have a crew chief coming out for me that will be there, but no official pacers. But I've met a ton of people and we talked about running together. And as you know, that's kind of a double-edged sword. I want to run with people, but if they're gone too slow and start making me where it's pushing me to the cutoffs, that's not going to be fun. And being by yourself, maybe I'm making the cutoffs, but then you have the mental drain of being in the desert all night long by yourself. That's tough too. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'll let you guys know afterwards, but I'm trying to find that balance.
Well, we're definitely gonna have to get you back on for a race recap afterwards
Yeah.
to chop it up again and hear how it
Yeah.
went. I'm curious, have you done 100 before without pacers?
Without Pacers, no. I did 100 before. It was a 50K loop 3 times and then a little 7 mile out and back. Most of those loops I did by myself, but I did have a pacer the last 7 miles with that. So mixed bag, but yeah, not for that long a time.
Okay. Yeah, because the first three that I did, I had pacers. And then the last one I had a crew chief,
Okay.
but
Yep.
I didn't have any pacers. And that was, I was trying to get people, scramble to get people, and then at the end,
Yeah.
no one was able to do it. And
Yeah.
Jimmy's paced and crewed for me before, and I told him it was like, I think mentally, it was probably the best 100 that I've had because, when you're with someone, you can bitch and moan, or,
Yeah.
my feet hurt, my
Yeah.
shoes, I forgot to do this, I forgot to do that. Well,
Yeah.
you can do that, but you're in your head doing it, and that's not
Yeah.
helping you. So I felt like it was the best mentally, like just the whole time I was on. I didn't have any
Okay.
ups and downs. And unfortunately,
Nice.
Jimmy's been the brunt of some of my low points.
It's exactly. Yeah. I remember, yeah, the low points, my first 100, my poor pacer. Oh my gosh, I was an emotional wreck. And then recently when I did this 100K, it ended up raining. That the whole story is in itself. And that was also loops. And I end up running with this one woman the last loop, and I call her my angel. Her name is Angie, but she's my angel. Like if I didn't have her there, I think I would have lost it, or not even wanted to do the last loop. But so that's why I'm struggling is do I hang with somebody? Do I go by myself? Find out in 2 weeks.
You'll find an angel. You always get them when you need them.
Yeah.
And God's always provide.
Yeah. It's funny you mention it. It's been crazy. This 100K race I did above Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago. Again, middle of the woods, Western Pennsylvania. I did the creek crossing, came out, and I saw someone, yeah, hi. We just started talking. She's like, oh, this is my training run. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's in my training run too. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, Sedona 125. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, so am I. Like, what are the odds? There's not thousands of runners doing this race, and she was from Vermont. I was from there, and like that was crazy. So now we're going to meet up out there and see if we can run a couple miles. So you're right. Universe, just here you go.
Yeah.
And I also find too, not only do you guys learn a lot about yourself and get lessons to take home, as a pacer, you learn a lot about yourself. And I was out with Rich in Leadville 3 times, paced him or helped him, crewed him twice, and then the 1 year he was hurt, so he helped someone else. And I learned a lot as far as when they don't hit the times, like when they think they're gonna be there, like you
Yeah.
get a Snickers, like you're gonna be here a while,
Yeah.
like. And there was other times Rich had people there to crew with him, and they were like bugging out because he wasn't. I was like, "You're at an ultra marathon right
Yeah.
now." Like whatever you do when he comes in, don't ask him how he's feeling. Like, if he's feeling like shit, you're gonna know. But don't like the first thing, how you feeling? How you think you're doing? It's like,
No.
don't like. You just got like he didn't have his shoes when we went up Hope Pass. And I like that whole summer we lived in Leadville. I was like getting up mountains the whole summer, like chomping at the bit. And now he comes in at mile 50 and I'm ready to run a 10K, right? And he's like from 50 miles in, and he's like, bro, you need to chill out and shut up. You'll learn a lot about yourself. But I enjoy it too as a pacer. So hopefully you find someone, hopefully your crew chief has a good time because it's an experience for everyone involved.
Yeah, it is, and good pacers. You bring up a really good point. I've paced a lot, and friends actually out west too. And you really have to know what to say, when to say, what to do. Like, be very, aware why you're there. You're just not keeping a time. Like, are you drinking? Because you get delirious. You think you're drinking and you're not drinking. And yeah, so many things. I love pacing and crewing. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's different with everyone you pace with, but I always feel that because I've helped some of Rich's clients out. Less is always more, but
Yeah.
sometimes you have to be a parent, like you said.
Yeah.
Hey, you just missed your watch. Did you get a gel? Did you get a drink? Like, hey, we got to keep up on this because if you miss 2 of those, now we're going to be at a deficit, and now we can't catch up on a 100-mile race.
Yep. Yeah.
Well,
Todd, sorry, Rich.
go ahead.
I got one last thing for you. I know Rich probably has another one for you, but one thing we didn't ask, we usually get it out at the beginning, but we haven't had a CrossFit guy in a while, so we didn't ask. Do you have a favorite WOD? Do you have a favorite kind of WOD?
I haven't gone through them all. I like believe it or not, I like WODs that have like breaks in them, believe it or not. Like, just whether it be a minute break, whatever. There's something about that pentameter, just getting your breath and going hard again. I won't say obviously, but I do like longer, like Clovis. I love longer workouts. Do you know what that is? Clovis is?
I don't know.
That a
Um,
hero wad?
yeah, it's a hero wad. It's basically you break up however you want. 10 miles. You have to run 10 miles and 150 GI Jane pull-ups.
Mm.
So break it up however you want. Something weird about that. I like that just simplicity of it. Two moves, running, with respect to that.
That seems brutal.
Yeah, it it is brutal. We did it at my gym. I coached at a couple years, and I did Clovis and a half. I did it by myself, and then I partnered with somebody. I was hurting. Um, yeah, that was one I always liked.
Yeah, I would break that up into like a, section of pull-ups, run a mile, section
Yep,
of pull-ups, run a mile. And
yep,
I
yeah.
think I could rip that one. But if I had to do it like 150 pull-up,
No,
GI Jane
oh yeah,
pull-ups, and then 10 miles, it'd be a long day.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No way.
Todd, last one I got for you, though, we are talking about pacers and helping and keeping you on track and all that stuff. What's your fuel strategy look like? What are you rocking with? What are your favorite go-tos? We all have those things that work
Yep,
at mile 25 and mile 40, but
yep,
I'll know when we get to mile 86, if there's a plate of Cheez-Its, they're probably
yeah,
going in a bag and you're
yep,
taking them down the trail with
yep.
you.
But my jam, my jam, and you'll see the pun coming up, has been Uncrustables, just
Yep.
peanut butter and jelly. Like they make them with Nutella now. Oh
Yep.
my God, the Nutella ones are
Say
like,
less.
oh my gosh. Those are definitely the go-to. Nutellas, I'm a big fan. And the race, the 100K that I recently did, pancakes. Oh,
Mm.
pancakes go down so well. I came in the one loop and they were out, and like I almost started crying. I'm like, okay. She's like, next time I'll be here. I'm like, yeah, but pancakes. Um, and then the one my coach got me on, gels I can give or take, but she introduced me to Precision. You ever hear Precision gel?
No.
Wow, game change. It basically it's tasteless. It's the best tasting gel. Like I don't know how to describe it, but it goes down easy. There's no real taste to it. And fueling wise, it's about carbs, the precision. So you can get a 90 gram of carbs, 60, 30, and so forth. That's been my go-to because again, as you know, with ultras, sometimes you just don't want to eat, and the stuff that gets down the simplest. So I'm pretty psyched I found something gel-wise my body likes, and I can definitely feel it working.
Okay. Is it similar to like a Morton?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, yeah, yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Nice.
Oh,
I've
you know what
been,
else? I'm sorry, real quick.
yeah, go for it.
Uh, Untapped maple syrup,
Yep. Oh yeah.
that with the pancakes.
Oh yeah. You know what else is good with pancakes or waffles is sometimes they have bacon at those aid stations and you
Yeah,
make a bacon
yeah,
sandwich.
yeah.
Those are
You,
pretty
you
good.
you ready for this time? We're going to tie in CrossFit and your question. I told you about the Friday night lungs, and during Christmas, I used to do a Christmas WOD. I would have a movie, a Christmas movie, and a workout, and then between the stations, it was a partner workout. You would answer questions about the movie, but the stations, it was all themed around the movie, like Elf and stuff like that. So for Elf, the one station, I gave bonus points. I bought maple syrup, tiny little things of maple syrup. And if you chugged a shot, you got extra points. Everybody chugged it. They're like, that was the best.
That's awesome.
Sounds like be a fun coach to work with.
Yeah.
I try to make it fun. I themed a lot of my workouts, and I don't know, just make it fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's what people are always asking me, like, oh, what do you think of this? Or I want to try, maybe let's do some shorter stuff. Or I got a guy I've been inching closer and closer to doing his first ultra. He just did Boston on
Oh,
Monday. And like last week before, he was like, hey, and I found this 50K in Vermont in June. He's like, what do you think? You think maybe you want to come up and we'll do it together, And I was like, well, let's get through Boston, but I like where your head's
it's
at.
gone.
But the point of that is like, I'm always like, is this going to stoke your bliss? Are you going to be
Yeah,
excited to get up and train for this every
yeah,
day? You're like, no
yeah,
one's cutting you a check. We're
yeah,
not at that level. So like, if it's fun to you,
yeah,
go for it. Let's do it.
yeah. Yep, exactly.
Todd, before we get in the final four, is there anything that we haven't covered about you, about your training, about what you got going on that you want to talk about?
Um, no, I think that's it. This has been fun. Again, as I hit the taper madness. So thank you for filling some of my taper madness time, which I
Well,
normally would be running.
thank
Absolutely.
you, because we love the endurance vibes, and I know when we hop off this, Rich and I are gonna reminisce on some of the trail stuff we've done, and he's gonna get an itch for something, and we're gonna be getting the band back together at some point. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, I am on the wait list for Run Rabbit Run and Rim to River. So
Are you
Let's
really?
go.
yeah.
Nice.
So we'll see if we can. My luck, I'm going to get pulled for both of them, and it's going to be like a week before. And I got to scramble to get to Colorado and then get up to West Virginia within a month.
Have the fun ready, stay ready, so you don't have to get ready. We'll be there.
Always.
Final four, Rich.
Let's do it.
All right. Todd, are you a coffee drinker?
Absolutely.
How do you brew your coffee and how do you take it?
Um, it depends on timing. But I do the slow drip. I'm a coffee snob. I hand grind, buy whole beans. I hand grind, and then I do the slow drip. You can put the water to 102 degrees, pour it over, slow pour. That's how I make it.
You know what, Todd? We could definitely hang out because
So,
we are coffee hipsters. We enjoy a good pour over. We like the light roast.
yeah,
We both have the AeroPress. That's how we roll.
nice.
But being in Florida, I am on a Stumptown can nitro cold brew kick. I go to the store. I get six at a time and call it a day.
That's awesome. Yeah, I recently broke my French press. I'm a little upset by that, but I'll get by.
So two questions off of that. One, do you have a favorite roaster in your area, or where do you have a favorite bean that you get?
Um, I'm kind of, you probably know this, you kind of get hooked on a flavor and
Hmm.
whatever. There's one called One Village locally. That's pretty good. The roast I have is called Artisan or Artist. It's a medium kind of roast. Pretty good. Um, Believe it or not, I know it's kind of commercial, but Death Wish, is it Death Wish? Yeah, Death
Yep.
Wish coffee. I like having them here and there. Um, I like I I just like buying different types of coffee all the time. It's rare I have something consistent. When I went out North Pittsburgh, I walked in this one shop, didn't realize they had coffee, and it was like, oh, and just bought that coffee too. So yeah,
Okay. So before I ask you my second question, I'm going to throw out Paper Street Coffee.
Paper Street Coffee.
Paper Street Coffee. Gabe is a former guest of ours. They're within the CrossFit community. Gabe was
Oh,
as a CrossFitter. He
write this.
sponsors Savon's podcast.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so they have a really good. He does a really good job roasting. He's something he kind of took up as a hobby during COVID when everyone was twiddling their thumbs, and now it's grown into this
Yeah.
amazing coffee brand. And then I would also add to your repertoire Third Wave Water. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
No, tell me
okay.
more.
So I don't know if you ever know, but if you go to a really good coffee shop and you get a pour over
Yeah,
and then you go home and do the pour over, do the exact same thing, it doesn't necessarily taste the same.
yeah,
It's all about the water.
yeah.
Okay, so Charles Nick is the founder of Third Wave Water. He was a NASA scientist and he really enjoyed his local roaster, tried to replicate it at home. He could never figure it out. So he struck up a conversation with the gentleman. And I guess there's some sort of World Barista Federation or something. And they have a specific mineral profile that really good coffee shops use, like a filtration system to get a specific mineral blend. So
Yeah.
what Charles did, being the genius that he is, he took that water profile and he dehydrated it. So then you have the minerals in a little like
Yeah,
sachet.
yeah,
You pour that into a gallon of distilled water, and then
yeah,
that
yeah.
gives you that specific mineral blend that's going to bring out all the notes and the apricot and the dark cherry and all that sort of stuff. So check that out too.
I I'm sorry. I'm so stoked right now. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and one last thing before Rich asks the next question. CS Instant Coffee, they're a trail instant coffee. They sponsor the podcast. They support endurance sports, so check them out.
Okay. What was that again?
CS
CS.
instant coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually found out about them because they had an ad in Ultra Runner magazine,
Oh, sweet.
and so we just reached out, and they were like, "Yeah, we love what you do." So,
Awesome.
it'd be good for out on the trails. The other question I had, being that you're on your taper, have you done anything with like caffeine restriction so that if you reintroduce it, that it
Yeah.
comes in handy with?
I've played around with it. I've played around with it. Am I going to do it for this? Probably not. I like I love my morning routines. I love making my coffee, and I just take away. I just think I'll be cranky. You're taking away my running. You can't take away my coffee too. Um, I read, or I listened to a podcast recently, real quick about that. So you know how if you cut out caffeine, you kind of get headaches. Your brain, it actually, the reason you get headaches, I'm going to probably get this wrong, is coffee restricts kind of blood flow, but don't, when you don't drink the coffee, it restricts it anyway, but it restricts your heart rate. It was something mind blowing. It's basically like mu muscle memory. And anyway, so I don't want any headaches. I'm just going to keep drinking my coffee.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I've never, I'm more about like sticking to the routine and
Yep.
having those kind of rituals. So I'm right
Yep.
there with you. But
Yep.
I do know some people that have done it and swear by
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well, which leads us into our next question. Todd, do you have any daily practices or rituals you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of Todd Pollock?
Coffee. No. Sorry. Um, what do I do daily? I I met just a simple 5 minute meditation every morning. When I wake up, I just sit, whether it be music, whatever, just to set my day, think about everything going on. I know you're supposed to be quiet during meditation, but no devices and just sit there, whether it's five minutes or half an hour. But that's my consistency. That brings me sanity and clarity to my day.
Nice. We get down with that for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Todd, what are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
Um, I'm reading Code of the West. I found this guy on Instagram talks about basically how the old Western days, the code, as kind of cowboys, but translating it into modern day. Loved his Instagram, loved his take because I'm drawn to the West. I swear, and in a lifetime, I was a cowboy. I swear to God, I was. So I think I was drawn to that. So I'm reading that book, and again, he just kind of talks about how to live the code of the West in today's society. Um, Podcasts, man, let me look real quick. I'll say all over the place. Late Watkins is one. He's but again, kind of in the meditation, whatnot. He always has good guests on. Oh, Diary of a CIO. He's amazing. He has amazing guests on there too. Just I love listening to those stories. And probably my favorite is Tetragrammaton with Rick Rubin.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
Man, I can listen to him talk to, and like you look at the person, I'm like, how's this going to be good? And it's
Awesome.
amazing. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I am a huge Rick Rubin
Yeah,
nerd.
yeah,
So is Rich. We get down with all Rick Rubin, and not that he had anything to do with it, but we just got done with the Beastie Boys audio book, and there was a lot of his, younger days in that
yeah,
book too.
yeah, yeah. Amazing. One more throw out, and this is my good friend. They run a podcast that I think you guys would appreciate. It's called Let's Run That Again. It's mostly about DNFs. They hearing people's stories and the lessons they learn from DNF from ultra running. I love it too. You could take a lot away from that too.
Okay. Tying it back to the race coming up, do you roll with music? Do you have a iPod ready with some playlists, or how you go
Um,
solo, just being in nature?
I I find that's a good question. I didn't, believe it or not, I didn't think about it for this race, just because of the duration and not knowing. Um, One quick story I'll tie in. I remember when started running my first 50 Ks, I must have spent, and this is back again, 2012, 13, where you had to make your playlist. There wasn't, Spotify or anything. I must have spent 5 hours making a playlist. I didn't listen to it once the entire time. I don't know why. So no, I don't. Right now, I'll be honest. I don't think I'm planning to listen to anything. I in my training runs now. Well, I've been running with friends a lot, so I don't listen to anything. But when I'm about by myself, I'll do half, either podcasts, audiobook usually, and then the second half, I just turn it off. Like I just, it's enough.
Okay. What's the vibe when you're coaching CrossFit?
Yeah, fun. Just, I just,
Little Katy Perry?
oh yeah. Um, I like old school rap, like the Beastie Boys, Run DMC, like all. I love that. I love that stuff. Yeah, that's my
All right.
jam.
Right on.
Rich, one
Yeah.
for Todd before you ask the last question. Do you have a favorite Rick Rubin podcast, like a favorite episode?
Rick Rubin.
Potential.
Um, yeah, I do. I'm trying to remember the name. God, I'm gonna see if I can find it in 2 seconds. I can't remember his name. No, I don't. I can't remember his name. They're all to me. Yeah, they're all good.
All right. If you you
Yeah.
come across it, just shoot it in our inbox.
Okay. The Wood, like, just because it was recent, the Woody Harrelson one was good. I like him and Matthew McConaughey. Those, I love those guys. They were pretty good.
Yeah. Todd, last one is a lighthearted one to close it out. We talked about pork roll in the beginning, and we know you guys love scrapple in PA. Maybe there's some other unique food things. Maybe there's a craft beverage after a race. Do you have a guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure, chocolate. I'm big chocolate. Chocolate chip cookies. Yeah, chocolate chip cookies is my guilty pleasure. Just love them.
Okay, you like Chips Ahoy, or it doesn't matter anything as long as it's got chocolate chips in it.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a bakery around here called the Happy Mixer. I love their cookies. Yeah, they're really good.
You
Yeah,
gotta have a few in your
more.
drop bags.
I think I'm going to have to. Yes, yes. It's mostly just going to be all that kind of food in my truck bags.
Nice. It's fun to look
Todd,
forward to that when you're coming into an aid station. You're like, oh, I got a
absolutely.
chocolate chip
Yeah,
cookie waiting for
yeah.
me.
Real quick, the other weekend, was doing loops back to my truck, and I thought I brought the Crustables peanut butter. I completely forgot. I was like tearing my truck apart. And I'm like, no, it was the worst.
That
Been
ruined my
there.
day. Todd, thank you so much for your time tonight. This was an awesome conversation. You mentioned the code of the West and feeling that calling. Rich and I have that calling to the West. You're going to a place that's been calling me for over a decade, Sedona, so I'm super jealous.
Cool.
Enjoy Sedona, enjoy the Verde Valley. Have a good time, have a great race, and hopefully we can get you back on after the race for a race report.
Cool. I would love that. This has been great, guys. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Rich.
Absolutely. Todd, it's been an honor and pleasure, and we hope that the running gods smile on you in 14 days, and we'll be keeping you in our thoughts when you're out there. And like Jimmy said, we've been trying to get back out west, and Sedona is definitely on the list, so we're definitely a little bit jealous. So
Awesome.
may your feet be light, and may the Uncrustables be delicious, and we'll definitely get you back on here in a couple weeks.
Awesome. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's Todd Pollock. Make sure you check all those links in the show notes. Click on that link. Send a little donation his way for this upcoming race, and make sure you check back in with us. We'll have Todd back on to discuss on the other side. Next week, we'll be back. We got Joseph Galante coming from TCNJ Wrestling and Dylan Cotterell from Glenville University. He's also a wrestling coach as well, doing some great things out there in West Virginia. Hope you have a great rest of your week and enjoy your week.